You are here, first of all, to talk about, this is a review of further education. You're announcing this a little bit later on. You've got a big speech in Derby, which you're going to go to after this. What are you announcing?
Yes, we're going to do a review of post-18 education, and really there's two aspects to it. One is we recognise how concerned people are about the fees students pay, the debt that people build up through their time in university, and looking at that issue and the funding issues. But there's something wider as well. For a long time, I've worried about the fact that in this country, we're very good at saying academic education is good and for everybody, but we've never put sufficient emphasis on technical or vocational education.
So do you think there's a certain snobbery around university education?
I'm afraid I think there's, for some people, they sort of think technical education is the sort of thing that happens to other people's children and not their own. I think we've got to break this sort of old-fashioned attitude that there's only one way through in education. And we've got to say, I've always believed that what we should say is what's right for every young person, what's right for every child. Because education, can unlock the door of your future.
But is there a way to make it right for every child? Have you got the money to make it right for every child?
Well, I think, first of all, we need to get rid of this sort of stigma that attaches to technical education. We need to get people saying, actually, let's see what a young person's skills are, what their interests are, what their abilities are, what's going to be right for them. Is it right for them to go to university, or is it right for them perhaps to do an apprenticeship? That could be a degree apprenticeship or a technical education at FE college. What suits each individual? Let's get that into people's thinking first.
So what about fees? You mentioned fees at the beginning there. So what are your plans there?
Well, we're asking this review panel to look at this issue, so I'm not going to preempt what they might come up with. The one thing we do know, I think it's right that you've got out there people who will benefit from going to university and those who don't. And I think it's right that those who benefit should make a contribution.
But if you're beginning to look at the fees now, discussing there's a fact that may go from 9,000 to 6,000. Was it wrong to do it in the first place?
I think what we need to do now is say we have a system of fees in education, but some issues have arisen. The concern that not just students themselves, but their families, their parents, their grandparents have about the level of debt that they build up, and also a concern that basically universities charge the same. Whatever course you're doing, they all charge the same. And so there are some questions for universities. Maybe we should have more universities that offer 2-year degrees rather than 3-year degrees.
Well, Labour have said that they would bring back maintenance grants. Is that something that you would consider doing?
Well, it's one of the things the review will look at is the cost to students, and it'll look at the maintenance cost, the cost of living, as well as the tuition fees aspect.
The more people, it's been said, the more that attend, there are reports of higher dropout rates, the more courses that don't provide value for money, vast numbers of graduates in non-graduate jobs. There's countless university courses that do photography. So you could take a photography course and spend your money on that because you went to university, but you're not going to get thousands of photography jobs.
Well, I think this is one of the problems. A lot of people are being encouraged to go to university when actually it isn't necessarily right for them. And this is what we've got to look at. And we've got to say, is it that students aren't being given the opportunities? Is it this sort of issue about, well, it's better to go to university even if you might not want to? That whole sort of attitude that we've got. I think we need to say, let's value sort of technical education. Let's value other forms of training and education.
Can you be Prime Minister if you
skills.
didn't go to university?
John Major didn't go to university.
The only one in recent times.
Possibly, yes, the only one in recent times. But you can. Of course you can.
Staying with education now, the University of Manchester said recently that we are in a mental health crisis within schools, and they've called for there to be full-time counsellors in all schools across the country. Is that something, because it is a huge problem, is that something that is realistic?
Well, I think it is a huge problem, and we need to do a lot more on mental health. I think the figure is, and I found this astounding when I first heard this, that more than half of mental health problems start before the age of 14.
Yeah,
so we do need to be looking in schools, and in fact we've already started doing this. So last year we launched a programme which is now rolling out across schools, in secondary schools, for ensuring that there's at least one member of staff who's trained in dealing with mental health issues, so that we can actually increase that support for young people.
Absolutely, which sounds fantastic. It sounds it's very important. But this is Jeremy Hunt announced a £5 million programme to train primary school staff to spot the signs of mental health problems. Now, £5 million, that's £300 per primary school. And that's so teachers that are already stretched now having to look at the aspects of mental health within the pupils. So why isn't there a counsellor, a trained counsellor, to take that off the teachers?
Well, I think I have actually seen some of these teachers being trained in the mental health toolkit, and what I found from them was that actually they welcome the fact that they were being given this support, so that because often it's the teacher that the individual goes to.
But where's
and
£300 a school going to go?
Well, the training is actually helping these teachers to identify these mental health problems, but also, crucially, then to know what to do, because that's the second thing. Because I came across a story in my own constituency, actually, of a young woman who's now in employment, but when she was at school, she had mental health problems.
Yeah.
And she was helped by a teacher. The only thing that teacher could do was actually just provide her with some space in her office to sit when she was having difficulties. Yeah. They didn't know what else to do. We've got to give them the ability to know where they can get help, how they can support young people.
A lot of mental health issues can be caused from bullying. Here on This Morning, we have our own campaign, our Be Kind campaign. We have sort of packs online that teachers and parents can download. One of the things we found from talking to parents and talking to children is that actually they're going to their school, they're speaking to the schools. Schools, aren't recognising the issue. They're sort of saying it's not happening on our watch. If they are recognising it, they don't know how to deal with it themselves. They're turning to our packs on our programme to find the resources. That can't be right, can it?
No, I think this has always been a huge problem, and well done to This Morning for the work that you're doing with your Be Kind programme.
Well, we're very proud of it.
But it's obviously making an impact, and I know you've had parents on talking about the problems of bullying. But it is difficult. You see it. Different things happening in different schools. So I've seen some schools which have really got to grips with this, have been tackling this issue. They've ensuring that there are buddy schemes for the youngsters so that they can, they've got somebody to go to if they're being bullied. But others, they don't recognise that it's happening, or they don't perhaps want to recognise that it's happening in their school. And I think that's one of the issues. Because they worry about what that then says about the school. But actually it says a lot more if they don't deal with it than if they do.
Absolutely.
We had distributed 150,000 wristbands across the UK. 12,500 teachers used the resource packs that we had. 275,000 pledges to stamp out bullying. So we give you one as well. That's our Be Kind wristband.
Prime Minister, I wanted to ask you, because I'm a parent. My children aren't yet on social media, but this is coming. I'm obviously very concerned about it. Bullying doesn't just happen at school, it happens online. We have platforms, Facebook and other social media platforms, where there are forums for bullying. They are being used to bully people. How can you tell me as a parent that my children will be safe on there? How can you police it?
Well, first of all, I absolutely recognise the problem you've identified. I actually spoke to, when we were launching this programme for training of teachers in mental health, spotting the signs of mental health, I spoke to a group of students in a secondary school down in the West Country. And for all of them, social media was a big aspect of their mental health problems. So we're doing a number of things. We're doing things like helping to protect young people from online pornography with introducing new age verification. So basically, we want young people to be protected online as they are offline. We're going to introduce a new strategy on internet safety, because I want this country both to be the best place in the world to set up a digital business, but also the safest place to be online. So we're working with the companies. We've done quite a lot with them already, but we're continuing to work with them just to see what more can be done to help. And also, actually, just for youngsters themselves, helping through PHSE in education in schools. But how can they be resilient to this?
You said in Davos in January, when technology platforms work across geographical boundaries, no one country, no one government alone can deliver the international norms, rules and standards for a global digital world. So how can you do it unless the world gets together? And we all know that's not possible.
Well, we have to start here. And we have to then work with the companies themselves, because if the companies themselves do it, then obviously they'll be doing it across their platforms internationally, not just in one country. I think that's important, but also just raising the issue in things like that speech at Davos. We've set up a new centre for data ethics and innovation. As a country, we're saying these are issues. Let's get together. Let's talk about it. Let's set these frameworks. The internet's a wonderful thing. Social media is hugely positive in so many ways, but let's recognise there are downsides as well.
Are you enjoying this job?
Yes.
Are you?
Yes.
Is it what you thought
It's
it was
because
going
it's...
to be?
Well, I did, you know, throughout my life, whenever I've taken jobs on, I've never kind of thought, oh, it's going to be like this or like that. I just get on and do it. But
you can't have imagined that it was going to be like this.
Well, but there's huge issues to be dealing with, but it's worthwhile, actually. You know, if we can help children in school to, you know, not be bullied, if we can keep children safe on the internet, if we can say to a young person today who's worried that they might be, you know, kind of pushed into going to university when they don't want to. But no, there's going to be a different route for you.
For you, no politician of any party wants to go in and make things worse. Everybody wants to make things better. With the many politicians and prime ministers we've met, I truly believe that. But for you, when you see the words beleaguered, hanging on by a thread, loss of power, don't you spend a lot of your time, rather than being able to look forward, looking back to make sure someone, you know, isn't about to stab you in the back?
No, for me, it's actually all about what I'm doing to deliver for the public. Yeah. And that's why, you know, I was on doorsteps in my own constituency on Saturday afternoon, talking to people, hearing from them about the issues that really matter to them. That's what drives me. Because that's what politics is about.
Do you think you'll be able to hang? Do you feel secure in your job?
Look, yes, I'm doing a job and I'm going to jolly well get on and do it. And what drives me in doing it is actually not what's written, but what people out there want the government to do. Yeah. That's the important thing.
Do you ever switch off? I mean, do you find time to just be able to go, right, I'm going to put a box set on and just relax? I mean, do you ever do that, or do you just...
I never get to the end of the box set.
You never manage to do that?
No, but I do. I mean, it's a job where you're constantly thinking about it, and obviously anything can happen at any point that means you have to really be involved. But, you know, I enjoy things like cooking and walking and so forth, so...
Do you kick your shoes off and order a takeaway? We can send you home with a bit of Chinese.
Yes. We can rustle you up a little something. Take it to Derby with you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.